American truckers are getting ready for their own protest. The People's Convoy will begin in California tomorrow, and then the convoy will make its way through Texas. Protesters are expected to end their route in Washington, D.C., with potential to be there for President Biden's State of the Union address. In Washington, authorities who are waiting for the truckers' arrival are already blocking roads and will reinstall the fence around the nation's capital. Joining me now is the former governor of Arkansas and presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Governor, your thoughts on this? Because, again, you know those left-wingers in D.C. are going to call these truckers, rather than applauding them for all the hard work they did during the pandemic, we'll call them insurrectionists, racist, white supremacists, Klan members, because that's all they know how to do is vilify people who are just trying to speak their own piece.
Dagan, I hope people will remember every time they reach for something on their grocery store shelves or they go and pick up a package on their doorstep that Amazon delivered, there was a trucker involved. If it hadn't been for the truckers, the economy would have shut down far more than it even did during COVID. They were hailed as the heroes of 2020 and 2021. Now they're being vilified, and it's shameful. And what is it that they really want? They just want to be free. These are not anti-vaxxers. You know, the great majority of the truckers in Canada were vaccinated, but they didn't like the draconian rules that Mr. I Know Everything, Justin Trudeau, the little tyrant up in Canada, tried to impose upon them. So I hope that when the truckers of America make their way across the country, hopefully they'll do it peacefully, they'll do it in an orderly way, but I hope they do it loud and clear and let Washington know that there's not two classes of Americans, the elites and the rest of us. It can't be that way. And that's what the truckers are trying to say in Canada, and I think they'll be saying it in America as well.
You've seen that divide grow and grow. When you go into, it's really gross. And I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but particularly here in New York City, where, you know, it's the left-wing snots in their apartments high above the street. They don't have to take the subway. They don't have to try to walk to work. So crime, they're oblivious to crime, and they're also they're not kind of being enforced. The rules of COVID aren't enforced upon them. I was in a restaurant not long ago, and I noticed all the servers in the restaurant had to be masked up, and all the rich people they were waiting on didn't, and it was just gross. And it just highlights that kind of divide in this country that's developed even in the last couple of years.
What we're seeing more and more, American leaders, even in the Biden White House, you've got it with the L.A. mayor, you see it in New York, and it's basically an attitude that didn't go real well when the last time it was espoused, and that's let them eat cake. Well, I think there's an uprising among the American people. And Dagan, let me say, I don't think that this is a horizontal kind of uprising, left versus right, Democrat, right, Republican, liberal, conservative. This is really more about freedom and tyranny. This is evil and good. And there are a number of people, Democrats included. Listen at Bill Maher. He's no conservative, but he's fed up with it, as are a lot of others in the overall society who just recognize that there are people in power who have had a taste of too much of the blood of their fellow citizens, and they forgot who they work for. They think we work for them. They forgot to read the Constitution, that they are public servants, not public princes, and they need to get that in their head and do it quickly.
The haircut with an ego north of the border, his overreaction and the emergency order that Trudeau put in place, maybe this convoy will remind the American people, or those who need reminding, that our freedoms need to be carefully preserved and protected. And this freedom of expression and speech is just a reminder to people here that those freedoms can be taken away if you have the wrong person in the White House here. Monica Crowley wants to jump in.
Governor, great to see you. So, you know, we could have avoided the Freedom Convoy in Canada. We could have avoided the convoy that's developing here in the United States if the Trudeau regime and the Biden administration just lifted all the mandates. But we know why they won't. To your point, it's about power and control, no longer about public health. But it does seem that their actions have awakened a sleeping giant. What do you expect going forward in Canada, in the U.S., and the rest of the West in terms of a broader pushback against this slide into authoritarianism?
Monica, it's a great question. I think we're going to see a major pushback in November of this year in the midterm elections. But even before that, the most encouraging sign I'm seeing is happening at the most local level, school boards, city councils. That's where people who are the closest to being governed are rising up and saying, no, we didn't elect you to be our moms and dads. We don't need parents. We're adults. We make decisions. We make good ones. We make better ones than you're making. And you're elected to help us, serve us, but not to be our gods. And I'm thinking we're seeing a real uprising that will result in what I hope is a peaceful overthrow of this tyranny, and that's at the ballot box. It's much better to do it by ballots than bullets, but one way or another, people are begging, demanding their freedom.
That San Francisco school board recall with three members of that school board, that was shocking to them, but not to the parents.
It wasn't even close.
No, it was like by a margin.
Wasn't even close, 75%.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a wipeout.
Again, they weren't watching Virginia, clearly, and they were shocked. Again, you trample on the rights of parents, and you trample on the lives and livelihoods and futures of children. You got what you had coming. Thank you so much, Governor Mike Huckabee.
Thank you, Dave.
What were you going to say? You had one more thing?
No, I was just thanking you, but let's stand for freedom. That's what we're about in America. God
Amen,
bless
sir.
the USA.
God bless America.